My name is Endavar, and this is Surviving with Mekanism. And between episodes, I've been letting this digital mine run that we got set up last time, and this is digging out the slime chunk for us, and as you can see, it's still not all the way there yet. So I haven't been doing this for too long, but this is the biggest section that it needs to get rid of. So I think we're down to 50,000 blocks now from about 70 odd thousand, so it's getting there. But once this bit's done, I might switch over just to mine out the ores, because there's just a ridiculous amount, and I am again running low on a few things. But hopefully the plan I've got for today will help with the resource issues. And the plan is to get all of this processed in a much more efficient way so we can double the raw ore, not the ores themselves. So if we put one of these down and fortune it, what do we get from that? We'll go 4 from that. But the process I'm going to set up today is going to allow me to get 8. So we're not going to get 4 from each one, and it does mean manually fortuning them as well. But once we get the raw, we can double that with the setup. So I've got the stats of it here. We've got the ultimate smelting factory and the ultimate enriching factory, and that's basically what we've been doing manually. So we've been putting stuff into the enriching factory, and 3 of these will produce 4 of the dust, and then we can smelt those, so we're getting a little bit more, a third more, which is not great. So we're going to want to double that. So doubling it is going to be a big step up. So along with these 2 machines, we're also going to need this thing called the purification chamber. And what we'll do with this is put the raw ore into there. That'll give us 2 of the clumps, and then we can put the clumps into a crusher, which will give us dirty dust, and then we can put that into an enrichment chamber to get the normal dust, and then we'll put that into a smelter to get the ingots. So it's a little bit of a process, and we do need a couple more machines, but let's get those crafted now, and then we can just set those up in the spot that I've got picked out. So firstly, we're going to need another crusher, so let's get one couple of buckets, and now if we do another crusher, that's one of them. The other one was a purification chamber, and this is crafted from an enrichment chamber, which I believe I've already got. So let's get this one. Yeah, so the purification chamber crafted from the enrichment chamber, just a little bit of a step up. So let's get that. And we're also going to upgrade these as well, and we want the speed and energy upgrades in here. And for the purification chamber, we also want the chemical upgrades as well, and that makes the use of the oxygen much more efficient. So how are we doing for, oh, I've actually got loads of upgrades. So let's take a stack of each of these. We only need half a stack though, because we've got 4 machines, but then I think we're going to need a pump as well, obviously, and an electrolytic separator to get the oxygen as well. So a couple more things to do, but before we do that, let's get these upgraded. So we want purification chamber, we're going to turn that into the basic purifying factory. We can then turn that into the advanced, elite, and then ultimate. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with crusher. We're going to get these items processing as fast as we can. So elite, I need to do the control circuits as well. Probably need to stock up on these soon. Oh no, am I one short? Really? That's very annoying. So let's get one of those and turn that into the ultimate. Let's just get the basics now that we need to produce the oxygen. So we need the pump, which is going to get us water, and then with that we're going to need an electrolytic separator, and that'll give us hydrogen and oxygen. But this time we're going to dump the hydrogen and just use the oxygen. Now I do have a few machines producing hydrogen, so I probably could have used them for this as well, but let's just keep it completely separate so we know what we're doing. Right, I do believe I've already got power around here, so let's just get the basic layout set up, or figured out at least. So what we've got around here is we've got a quantum entanglement to there, but I'm going to do all of this over at this side. So I think what I'd like to do is have it coming this way. So we'll put it one back, and we'll go from left to right, or right to left as it's processed, but this first machine is going to be the last machine. So the way this works with the ore processing set up in Mekanism is that you're adding onto it every time, and you don't need to change anything around. So this is the basic setup. This is like level 1 or level 0, I don't know what you want to call it. But if we put ore into here, this will work just like a normal furnace. From there, we have the enriching factory next to it, and then this will produce a little bit more, put the dust into there, and then I'll smelt it. And then to expand it further, we just need to add in the purifying factory, and then after the purifying factory, we have the crusher, and that just follows the process that we've just seen. So I need to configure all these to make sure that they're pushing that way, but this one also needs oxygen as well. So we need a little setup, and I'm going to do that behind here, and then that can push into there. So I'm going to need to get some cables and some pipes. So I'll do all the boring stuff, and then we can hopefully see this in action. Right, so I've got a few little things happening there. I've put the power underneath and then ran the cable back here to this pump that we just have over a single water source plot there. That is pumping water into an electrolytic separator, and then that is producing hydrogen and oxygen, and we have the oxygen output on the front. We'll look at the chemicals, so output 2 goes to the front. So I just need to make sure that this is dumping, and then the oxygen is going into this ultimate purifier factory, albeit very slowly, and that's because I haven't done any upgrades yet. So let's do all of these now. So we'll do the pump, and then this thing. So that is still very slow, isn't it? What's going on there? Oh, 9 the speed. Okay, that'll be why. Actually, these both energy. Is that what I'm going wrong? That explains it. Right, put you away so I don't get confused. Right, so let's just do all of these. So those are all the energy, and then we can do speed, speed, and then all these speed as well. So now that should be going pretty quickly, and I've just put a quantum entangled potter down here and just run the power off that. So that should be good to go now. I do also want to get a chemical upgrade in here as well, or 8 of them actually. So what that'll do is mean it won't use as much oxygen, but we'll just try it without it first, because normally it really is a problem if you don't use those. So I'll turn all these to on as well, so it'll spread them across there like that. So what we should see from this is if I put 4 raw osmium into here, we should end up with 8 ingots in here, if this works like I think it does. So look at that, the oxygen just went and it didn't even do 4. So that is absolutely mad. So is that just using it so fast? Right, we need to get some of those chemical upgrades, don't we? Right, so for these, pretty cheap, so I'll just get a few of these. Just get the 8 for now, because I don't think we need them for another machine at the moment. So at the minute, that's not doing too well, but if we put those in there, hopefully we'll start doing better. But the oxygen is pretty shocking. What is going on there? That still hasn't got speed upgrades in, is it? Right, you do that. Is this? No, that hasn't either. What was I doing? Right, so that has done 8 of those, albeit in a little bit of a strange way, but it's still done it. So we don't have eject on there, do we? No, output to the left. Let's just check this. So yeah, that hasn't even done that one right. So let's do that. Output there, eject on. And then on this one, that's the same. So like that. That's not going to go anywhere, but we now have 8 osmium ingots from those 4 raw ore. So that's good. So now we just need to do a bit of a stress test. I don't think I've got much osmium, so I think I've got loads of raw iron though. So let's just see what we've got in here. I've got a bit of osmium. Let's do that. And whatever iron I can carry as well. And the copper as well, why not? Okay, so stick all of the osmium in there. And the oxygen is now keeping up, which is good to see. What's this doing? I suppose, yeah, because we've got the ultimate pressurized pipe, that is actually holding quite a big buffer. So that's going to fill up loads in there, which is why this isn't backing up yet. But it is more than keeping up with this because that pipe is actually filling up. Great. So we have a ton of osmium going into there. And now I could just put a pipe on there and send it straight back, couldn't I? But I think what I'd like to do instead is just have it send into a chest. And then we can use an importer to send it back, which I think makes more sense. So let's do output on there, eject on. So I was sticking everything into there. Nice. And then we need a way of getting everything into here as well, which I haven't quite figured out yet. Probably use an exporter to just send all the raw across. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? Enderman seems very interested in what I'm doing. I know, it's fancy, innit? Right, so let's do that. We'll have a logistical transporter on there. And then we're going to put an exporter on top of here to send everything to it. So let's grow configurator. So that's to extract. And then we'll put all these raw ores into here. And those should start doing the thing. Processing and going into there. Right, that is great. So obviously there is another step to this. Should we just have a quick look? Because we can't do it today because I do have another thing I need to do before this. So if we look at the raw ore, let's just look at iron for now. So the one we've done is the chemical injection. No, it's not. The one we've done is the purification chamber with oxygen, and that doubles it into the clumps. But the next step is to use a chemical injection chamber, and this will take 3 and turn it into 8. So that's better than double, which is good. But for this, you need hydrogen chloride. Now, you could just go mine a ton of salt and turn that into it, but that will nowhere near keep up. So what we need to do instead is this process here. So in a chemical infuser, we need to put hydrogen, which we already know how to do. That's just from an electrolytic separator. But then we also need to produce chlorine, which is not too difficult. It's just an electrolytic separator which produces sodium and chlorine, but the input for that is brine. So this is quite a tricky thing to set up. We need to build this huge tower of these things called a thermal evaporation plant, and we just pump water into that, and given enough heat, this will turn that into brine. And brine is very useful because we can also put this into a thermal evaporation plant and we'll get lithium, and then lithium can be turned into lithium dust, which is what we need for some higher level stuff, particularly the energy storage, the multi-block energy storage thing. Got a few things to do there, but the brine is going to be essential to go into a higher tier than this. But I am happy with this setup. This is definitely better than what I've had, and I can, once I get the exporter and the importer on here, I can just put things into my system, all the raw ore, and it'll get sent into here, processed and done. So that's why I've done it in a separate room from my main storage room, because I can just forget about this really, because it is a self-contained system. As long as it doesn't run out or like overstress, which I don't think it will, because I put a load through there and it all works fine. The oxygen didn't run out, and it's obviously still backing up as well, so I'm happy with that. And then all the machines that I've got in here, these are just for like the manuals process. So if I just want to crush some gravel and sand, or if I just want to do some enriching, smelting of like stone and stuff like that, I can just do all that manually. I don't need to have that completely automated in a different room, but the ores definitely want that going all the time. So that is very good. That's all sorted. So I just really need to fortune this, and then if I dump it in here, get an import and an exporter going, and that system will be completely set up. But let's just have a look at what I've done through here. So I've started digging this out, and this is going to move because this is a bit ugly at the minute, but I've started building this bridge across here and dug down into the power generation setup that we've got down here. So this room is probably going to stay like this, decorated obviously, but I think the ceiling will probably stay there. But then I think over at this end we're going to have a huge like cavernous room, because we are at the stage now where we need to start building some of the big multi-block structures. And I did toy with the idea of putting them outside, but I think it'd just be really cool just to have this big underground base, and if we have loads of this dug out, we could decorate it, make it look like a high-tech factory kind of thing. Don't know how well this fits with it, but we can probably cover this up somehow, and then have like a staircase going up to the storage room, and got a few ideas, but that is going to take a lot of digging, and I'm probably not going to get that done today. That is just an idea for the next couple of episodes anyway. So I think the next thing I want to do is actually start doing some building, or at least gathering the blocks that I want to use. So I do keep saying that I want to use grey concrete, and I don't think that's changed. I definitely want to do this, but I don't want to be processing it myself. So I want to use the chemical injection chamber, which is the machine that we just looked at that can do the next level of the ore processing. But instead of using it for that, we're going to use it to turn concrete powder into grey concrete. So the only thing we need is another gas, and that is water vapour. And we get that from pumping water into a rotary condensator, which is a fairly simple craft. And this will just produce water vapour, and then we can put that into here with a ton of concrete powder, and then I'll turn it into the grey concrete. So for the chemical injection chamber, we need a purification chamber, which, as we know, comes from an enrichment chamber. So let me get these machines crafted, and then we'll try and find a spot for setting this up. Right, so I've got these things crafted, and I think I know what I'm doing now. So what I've done is just dug back here, and the water that we're using for this electrolytic separator, which I just used for filling up my jetpack, so it's not something that's going to get used loads, so it's not a problem to share out the water from that. And then I've just piped that into the rotary condensator, and you just need to make sure that you toggle this. So you need to make sure it's turning liquid into a gas, which that is doing. Although just doing that, I've probably broken it anyway. Anyway, let's pipe this out and see what happens. So we're just going to put the chemical injection chamber just next to it there. And we need to make sure for the chemicals that the input is on the right, and that has kicked in again, so I didn't break it. That's good. So that has got the water vapour in it there, and we can actually upgrade this, which I completely forgot to do. So let's get the tier upgrades. Basic. I should have definitely crafted this, but never mind. So I'll have the advanced, elite, and ultimate. Oh, I'm running low on these again. I definitely need to get that set up, and this probably needs to process for that, don't I? Anyway, so we'll have the basic on there, advanced, elite, and finally ultimate. So that is going to use a lot of water vapour in there, and if I try and do this now, it's just going to vanish like it did with the oxygen on the other machine. So I'll put the speed upgrades into these, and I've just done that on the pump as well because I didn't have them in there before. Do that energy upgrades as well. But now if we put the concrete powder into here, that water vapor is going to struggle a bit, especially if I do this. Yeah, so that's already completely gone. So if we put the chemical upgrades in there, that is going to go much better. So definitely need those in. Stick that in, and we now have grey concrete. Now just imagine how long that would take to do it in the vanilla way, just putting it next to water and then mining it out. Even if you do TNT dupers, it's a lot more effort than doing this. So I think that is sorted now. And the reason I put it in here as well is this is... No. Oh, I've not got my jetpack on. Oh. Give me it. Right, so the reason I put it in here is this isn't something that I'm going to be constantly piping things into. I'm just going to put stuff into it manually and take it out just when I need a little bit. So the grey concrete is going to be like for the pillars. I think these things like in between all the doors and everything, that's going to be grey concrete. I was toying with the idea of having quartz on the floor, but then I'm thinking maybe quartz pillars instead of the concrete, and then we could have copper and concrete on the floor. I don't know. I've got a few things to figure out, but what I've been doing while I was having to think about where to put those, I've done a little bit more digging in here, and it's looking pretty cool, this, but it's taking a little bit of time. So the atomic disassembler, it's really quick, but it runs out of power really quickly. So I could set up another charging station down here, and I probably will do that. But what I've actually been using is this. I've just done this refined obsidian paxel. Now I was trying to get fortune on this when I enchanted it, but it ended up being silk touch because I was thinking to fortune all of these, it's going to be a bit slow with this. So I thought I'd try and get fortune on a refined obsidian one, and it'd go a lot quicker. But I ended up with silk touch, so I just ended up doing a lot of digging. And it's alright, it's about as good as a netherite pickaxe, and it's got a lot more durability, but it's still a little bit slow. So I'm thinking I should probably go get a beacon and stick that in here, which I know it's not a very modded thing to do, it's complete vanilla, but I see this series as like a vanilla plus thing really. It's using vanilla mechanics but then adding mechanism on top of that, rather than it being modded and having to do vanilla. It's like I like playing vanilla, I like doing a lot of building. So speaking of which, I have done a little bit in the nether as well. I went on a right tangent between the last clips, so let's have a look at this. Yeah, I got all this, well, kind of done. I got it all done going this way because this is the way that goes to the village. Now, I know the walls aren't great, but, you know, it's good enough. So that goes to the village, and I think I'm going to bring some villagers through, which is why I've tried to make this a little bit safer. But let's just make sure there's no spawning spaces. And then I started doing the same thing, going the other way that goes towards the nether fortress and the portal to the stronghold down there as well. So we'll get all that done at some point, but it's not massively interesting. As you can see, I'm not making too much effort into making this look pretty. So I think if I put a few things away, I've got my looting sword, haven't I? I'm going to try and go kill a few wither skeletons. Just spend half an hour doing that, and hopefully we can get some skulls. But actually, one more thing in this show. What I've done here is crafted up an ultimate fluid tank, which is what I've got here. And I don't think I ever showed this one. These hold 256 buckets. So I used this to clear out a spot right down on the bottom of the world that had a load of lava while I was doing some digging. So, and I'm going to do the same thing, because if we come outside, this slime chunk is now completely done. The middle one anyway. So I do have a few more bits down the side for it to do, which is what's going on down here. So I need to get rid of that water as well. But the main chunk itself is done. But then we have a little bit, oh, has it done this corner now as well? Yeah, so it's got a few things going. But we have a little bit of lava situation down at the bottom, so I need to get rid of that. And all this water is turning it into other stuff. So maybe I should get some blocks as well so I can block this water off. Right, so that water is going away now. So now with this, if I right click on it, and if I shift and scroll, I can turn bucket mode on. And with that, I can now just start using this as a bucket that'll hold 256 buckets. So I'm just going to go through it. It shouldn't be too bad. I may need to get rid of some of that as well, but I think it goes through here. So yeah, I've got a little bit to do. So I'll try and get rid of as much of this as I can, and then after that we'll go to the nether and hopefully get enough skulls to do the wither. Right, so I got rid of all that lava, and it didn't take too long at all, and there was only 99 buckets that I picked up there, although a lot of it did get turned into obsidian because of the amount of water that's coming down. And I did try getting rid of some of the water in one of the corners, but it's going to be a bit of a pain, because I think there's this one actually. I went from the top and started just placing blocks. Now a lot of this is just flowing down, but there are some like big water caves under here that we're going to need to get rid of. So yeah, this one over here. So I think this is going to get dug out now, and that's going to be more exposed water. So I think that's giving me the inspiration for what I want to do next time, and that's probably going to be to take on an ocean monument, but using some mechanism stuff to make it much easier. So, right. I think now, let's take our looting sword, get into the nether, and see if we can get some skulls. There we go. Best with a skeleton. This is going to give me one, isn't it? Why am I on fire? I didn't... No. Come on. We want skulls. Coal. No, not coal. May need to do a bit of digging, because there are a few crossroads around here. So, it might be worth doing a bit of digging. But it would be nice if I could just get a lot of spawns, loads of skulls. We'll go over here. Skeletons. Gotta remember though, I'm not invincible. It's actually quite a big fortress. I haven't explored most of this yet. And after all that, I'm back at the same spot and there's another one here. Okay, no. Everything but skull. And I know I said I was only going to spend half an hour doing this, but I got a little bit carried away and I have been in this fortress now for a ridiculous amount of time, killing tons and tons and tons of wither skeletons. And to say it hasn't gone well would be an understatement, but we'll get to that. So aside from killing them, I've also been tearing the fortress down a little bit, just to try and give them a bit more space to spawn. And with the nether brick, I've been building out some platforms as well, again, just for more spawning spots. And when I ran out of blocks to dig up above, I took out one of the huge pillars down below as well. And then I used that to build up a big platform on the bit over the lava lake. And this is where I've got most of them to spawn actually. And once I've got that built, I used the technique of flying really far away just to reset the spawns. And when I did that, I found a bastion. So I thought I'd have a little bit of an explore in there. And there was a few piglet brutes that weren't too happy with me looking through the chests. But being able to fly away definitely helps. I'm so brave. And in the chest, nothing too great. I did get the snout armor trim, but unfortunately no smithing template upgrade. And after that I got back to it, killed a few more wither skeletons. I say a few, quite a few, but unfortunately not one single skull. So I've come back to plan A, and I'm using my atomic disassembler instead, which I know I should have just been doing in the first place. And I've got a second energy cube here, and I did actually take this to the nether. When I was using my atomic disassembler to take the fortress apart, I just plonked this down, put my atomic disassembler in there, and in a few seconds I was charged and ready to go. So I thought I might as well do the same thing over here. And as you can see, I've done a little bit more digging. I've built out this bridge a little bit more and dug everything right down to the end. I'm probably going to go even further with this and all this at the side, and probably go up a bit as well, because I want, as you come out of here, to this to be like a big cavernous room. I'm going to have the really big multi-block structures in here, so that including the reactors and the steam turbine and everything. So it might be a little bit dangerous doing it so close to base, but if you know what you're doing, it should be alright. But you know, it's me. So I've also been doing a little bit of building as well. We have this little tunnel here, and that's because this is directly above the pumpkin farm, and I didn't want it to open out into that. So I've put these two rooms at the side in these tunnels, and I think this is where I'm going to do the sulfuric acid and the fissile fuel, which is what we're going to need for the reactors. I think that's a really good place to put it. And then through here we'll have all the reactors and like some of the bigger stuff. I don't know exactly what yet, but it'll definitely get put to use, and it's going to be very cool. But I think at this point I need to get some building done, don't I? Because this big grey box with the dirt and all the cobble and stuff kicking around is really annoying me. I really want to make this look good. So I've got a bit of a design that I want to do, and it is based around the grey concrete, like I said, and I have a ton of it on me, so we can put that into the ultimate injecting factory. I just want to show you how quickly this goes. So I've got the water vapour coming in from here, and in hardly any time at all, which this is fully upgraded, isn't it? Yeah. So that'll all turn into grey concrete. Now, I want to do something similar with the copper, because I want to use the oxidized copper. So with this, we can also put this into the same machine, but unfortunately it needs a different gas. It needs oxygen rather than the water vapour. So for that reason, I've set up this over here. So I already had the electrolytic separator for the hydrogen, and I'm using this to refuel my jetpack, but I'm now pumping the oxygen into this tank, and it's going into this pipe at the minute, which is why that machine is working. So these hold quite a buffer. Probably more than the tank actually, yeah. So no, do that. What I'm going to do is put this injecting factory here, and that'll have oxygen in it now. So if I just put in all the upgrades that I've got here, let's just do it like this. So we'll have speed, sorry, that was NG, speed, chemical, and muffling. So now, I've turned that on, and put the copper into here. No, there's no power. That's such a basic thing. Right, so if we just connect this up, like that, should now start oxidizing that, and that has turned it into the first version, which is the exposed copper. So if we just take these out of here so we can do the next bit, and if we grab those and put those back in, let's just do a few. that turns it into the weathered copper. Now, this may seem like a bit of a palaver, but compared to putting these down on the floor and letting them weather over time, which is a bit of a pain, putting them in here and letting them do it this quickly is so much better. So look at that, we've already got the oxidized copper. Nice. Now obviously this isn't the way I'm going to get all of my copper. I am going to go to a trial chamber and rip one of those apart, but we obviously have to do it the mechanism way as well, don't we? So you never know, this might actually be enough. But saying that, most of the floors through here and a lot of the ceiling as well is going to be with oxidized copper. So yeah, I'm gonna need quite a lot of this stuff, and I think that is most of my copper gone now. Oh no, I've actually just processed all the other stuff that I had. So yeah, speaking of which, I do actually need to do one more job that I didn't get the importer and the exporter up and running. So let's come over here. So our fancy new ore processing setup here, which obviously needs prettying up a little bit. But what I've done, I've set up the importer on this chest. So if I put any raw ore into here manually, it will go through this whole process, the ingots come out here, and then it gets sent back into the QIO. So we can do the same thing on this side. I've already put the exporter there, but I haven't turned it on. So what I need to do is filter this and say which, actually no, firstly I need to put the frequency to Endavar, set that. Now I just need to say what I want it to export. So if we do tag, and if I do raw, does that work? I don't think there's anything else raw, is there? So yeah, any raw ore will get put into no. Oh, I didn't want it to do that. Yeah, that's not quite right. And now I'm assuming it won't get sent into there. Well, let's try that again. So you don't do that. Right. Let's try that again. So I think it's, if we do an underscore, does that work? No, that's not right either. Right, I've got stored in here and else this is not going well. I'll have that as well. Those are the things I want in there. Right, I've no idea why I can't get that tag working. So instead of doing that, I'm going to just use item stack, and then if we drag each of these in. So we just need a different filter for each one that we need. But then this gives us more control as well, I suppose. So we can just say which ones we definitely want to do. And I think it's already done the iron on that last one, so it won't do anything there. I think I've got a little bit of gold. Probably just one, I think. I'll do that. There we go, so that's kicked in now, so that's definitely working. And if we do one for osmium as well, I don't think I've got anything else at the minute. I think I dumped it all in here manually. And I should definitely do the copper as well, shouldn't I? As I'm going to be using quite a lot of that. So let's do final one for copper. Right, so that should be good. I don't think I've got anything else in there that's waiting to go. But yeah, any raw ore I put into here now after fortuning it will get automatically sent to there. So we've got, it's lead. Right, okay. So well then, might as well get that set up because we're going to need some of that soon. So new filter, I'll put lead in there. That should kick in. Yeah, so I've got quite a bit of lead. So that's going through there and that'll get sent back as well. Excellent. Right, so all grey concrete is done, but I'm also going to be using cyan concrete as well. So I've just had a little bit of this going through as well. So we'll just get the last bits of that going. And I'm also going to be using steel blocks as well, which could be quite expensive. But that's why I've just been putting a bit of iron through here. I'm going to need some more carbon as well. Yeah, we'll go. So stick half stack of that in there. And you in there. I can take this steel and get that smelted up because I'm going to need this. And if I'm feeling really fancy, I might even use the steel casings as well. But I think the steel blocks are pretty cool. So we've already got like a pillar of them here. I don't think I'm going to use this in here. I think it's going to be like a floor block, like a separator around everything else, just to do something a little bit different. I think the first room I want to tackle is this. And one of the ideas I've had for a lot of it is that these are all 4 high, but then when you come through here, they're all only 3 high. And then this bit as well is the same. So I think I want to raise all of these ceilings, but with this, I don't really think I need it to be a separate level. So I think I'm just going to remove this floor here. Now it is a bridge, so I'm going to have to build over it, I think. So I don't think we need all this space down here. This doesn't need to be fancy down here. I'll dig this out and then we can replace this floor. I mean, it's too thick anyway, so that's all right. And then in here, I have dug it out a little bit. So I basically just want to have these doorways 4 high. And then it's going to be the same at this side. So I'll raise this one in here as well. I can raise this up a bit and this one here. And I don't know why I did this because it doesn't even match this one. So if I do that, that's going to definitely look better, isn't it? As you can see here, I've also removed this cable because it was annoying me running past it all the time. And this just comes from the wind generators at the top. So I think I'll take this cable out. And then they're not really providing that much power anymore, but it's nice to have a little bit of a backup just in case. So I could probably just send all that power with a quantum entangler porter instead, couldn't I? That'd make much more sense, and I don't have to have these big ugly wires running down the middle of my base. So I'll get this little room done, I think, as much as I can anyway, because there are a couple more materials that I'm going to need that we're going to tackle next time. But I'll just do the basic version of this, and then we can have a look and see the big vision for the base. Okay, so a short time later, and this is what we have. And this is such a transformation, isn't it? Compared to the big ugly grey boxes that we had before, I think this is definitely making a statement. So I wasn't sure about the copper at first, but yeah, I think with the concrete, it is quite bold, but I do like the look of it. And I think like the neutral colours like the grey and the white kind of balance everything out a little bit. So yeah, we've got the trapdoors under there as well, just so we don't have too much of the cyan going on. You may like it, you may not, but let me know down in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear everyone's feedback on this, and I have stopped there because I was running a bit low on the copper, so yeah, I need to go get some more of that. We'll definitely go do a trial chamber next time, along with an ocean monument, because we have glowstone in quite prominent places, and I don't want that. I want those to be sea lanterns, so I'm going to go do an ocean monument next time. But luckily there is something in Mekanism that makes that much easier, so that is what we're going to be doing. And aside from that and the trial chamber, I also want to make a start towards the reactors, so we'll probably make a start on the fissile fuel next time. Probably won't get it done, but if we get some of the steps done towards it, I'd be very happy. But I think with that, we're going to have to leave it there. Made some good progress today, got the ore processing going, and done a little bit of building. Wasted a bit of time in the nether, but you know, we'll get back to that and get that sorted. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.